One of Hong Kong's top travel agencies, Hong Tai, faces voluntary insolvency. Government starts self-paid COVID nucleic tests today. Controversy over U.S. business leaders' attendance in Citi's financial summit next week. Hello and welcome to TVB News. Hong Tai Travel, one of the city's most well-known travel agencies, has officially announced it is shutting down. That's just 2 days after the operator suspended service at all of its branches. Jackie Lin reports.
Hong Tai Travel Services has officially shuttered for good, buckling under the pressure of the pandemic and long-running travel restrictions. In a statement, Hong Tai's parent company on the mainland, Kaisa Tourism Development, said it approved Hong Tai's winding up on Thursday. This as the tour operator's negative asset rose from 63.6 million yuan in late 2021 to more than 68 million yuan in June this year. Its total asset also dwindled from 14 million Hong Kong dollars to less than 1 million yuan. Kaisa's statement added Hong Tai can no longer pay off its debts by the due dates, and it has started the voluntary liquidation procedure. Just 2 days ago, Hong Tai suspended service at all of its branches. The company said it was trying to stay afloat by running at the lowest cost possible until border restrictions are fully lifted. Hong Tai Travel Services was founded in 1966 by Jackie Wang Si-sum. At the time, its operations focused on air ticket booking and inbound tour groups. In the 70s, Hong Tai launched a variety of week-long package tours to Southeast Asia after the government stipulated the 7-day statutory holiday. Over its half-century history, these tours have formed part of the collective memories of many Hong Kong families. The agency has also been a sponsor of overseas trips for Miss Hong Kong. Overcoming the SARS outbreaks in 2003 with the rollouts of local tours and weathering the Manila hostage crisis in 2010, Hong Tai eventually met its end after enduring more than 2 years of the COVID-19 pandemic. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Despite regular reports about the city's housing shortage, the supply of first-hand private housing could reach 100,000 units in the next 3 to 4 years. And newly built units that remain unsold and vacant have also reached a 15-year high. According to the Housing Bureau, as of late September, some 14,700 newly built units have remained unsold. The bulk of them were built in 2020. 1/3 of them have been left vacant for more than 3 years. Economics academic Terence Chong from the Chinese University says developers might want to put these units on sale due to pressure from interest rate hikes. Some lawmakers say the government should reconsider the vacancy tax. The government launched self-paid COVID nucleic testing services today. These services include a 2-tier pricing plan. Under the express service, test results will be available within 12 hours of specimen collection, with prices ranging from $160 to $240. Sharon Tang reports.
Following the rollout of the new mechanism today, there were separate queuing spaces for paid and free services at this testing center in Sha Chou Road Playground in Tsuen Wan. There was no one waiting in the paid line. Here, the express service costs $200, while the standard equivalent is priced at $120. Both are cheaper than the government's price cap. There were similar scenes at Sathorn Playground in Wan Chai. Authorities say certain residents can still get tested for free. That includes those aged 60 or above, people subject to compulsory testing, airport and residential care home staff, as well as visitors to public hospitals. A testing contractor operating 7 testing outlets offered his views on the new changes.
Since the very beginning, the only reason that the citizen has to pay is if they require us to get a paper-based testing report. So I believe the so-called adjustments from the government policy has not been changing because of the mindset is being shifted.
Chu said the new arrangements will help to speed up the operation process, adding that the number of people getting tested has been steady over the past few months. This woman thinks the price is reasonable, adding residents won't have to go to clinics just for tests. But this man said the testing contractors are charging too much. He said they should have social responsibility, especially when no one knows how many more tests are needed. Currently, there are 85 community centres that offer self-paid testing services, which are operated by about a dozen contractors. Only a few charge lower than the price cap, with the cheapest express service costing $160 and standard tests costing $90. From November 8th onwards, those eligible to undergo a free test will first have to make an online booking or use the testing registration QR code in the Leave Home Safe mobile application for registration. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
The city reported 5,656 new COVID cases today, a slight drop from yesterday. There were 390 imported infections. Among the imported cases, there are 9 more infections carrying the XBB mutant strain and 3 cases with the BQ.1.1 strain. 3 elderly care home registered outbreaks, with 5 residents listed as close contacts. Some 400 schools reported infections. 9 classes have suspended face-to-face classes, and 7 more patients died, bringing the city's death toll in this pandemic wave to 10,152. Next week, Hong Kong will host the Global Financial Leaders Investment Summit, the first major international financial forum in the city since the start of the COVID pandemic. But some U.S. politicians urged financial leaders not to join the event because of the city's human rights problems. Hong Kong's business sector, meanwhile, slammed the politicization of the financial event. More from Jackie Lin.
Next Tuesday's Global Financial Leaders Investment Summit is poised to bring together some 30 Wall Street leaders in the SAR. But politics and the pandemic might be getting in the way. In a statement, U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley and Congressman Jim McGovern, both chairing the Congressional Executive Commission of China, asked U.S. firms to reconsider attendance at the 3-day event. They say business as usual in Hong Kong is the wrong choice for these companies. And their presence will only legitimize the swift dismantling of Hong Kong's autonomy by local authorities and the Chinese Communist Party. It also has the effect of whitewashing the human rights violations of the Hong Kong government. They add it could draw pertinent congressional concern. That's if expanded investment in authoritarian governments undermine U.S. national interests and harm Hong Kong's autonomy. Business sector lawmaker and executive council member Jeffrey Lam criticized Merkley and McGovern for politicizing the financial event. He believes financiers are very rational and won't be swayed by the rhetoric by 1 or 2 politicians. Meanwhile, Secretary for Finance Paul Chan came down with COVID during his visit to Saudi Arabia. He was due to give the keynote speech in the financial summit. Also infected with COVID is Citigroup Chief Executive Jane Fraser. She won't attend the summit. The Hong Kong Monetary Authority is in talks with Citigroup to discuss who will be her replacement in the event. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
The city's 2 power companies are expected to announce details of new tariffs by the end of November at the earliest. Though the Environment Minister says he will try to keep the tariff hikes as low as possible, he said fuel prices have surged in recent years. Sharon Tang has more.
The government is currently in talks with the city's 2 power companies about new tariff levels. CLP Power earlier said the rise in electricity bills next year is unavoidable, citing surging fuel and natural gas costs. Speaking on a radio program today, Secretary for Environment and Ecology Tse Jin-wen said he hopes to minimize any increases. He added natural gas prices have doubled in the past year or so, while coal prices had risen 5-fold in the past 2 years. Tse stressed coal still makes up a quarter of Hong Kong's fuel needs for power generation. The Environment Secretary also revealed electricity bills only take up 2% of Hong Kong families' median household income, which is far lower than in Europe. Tse called on residents to use energy-efficient products. He added now it's not the time to discuss whether the electricity charges subsidy scheme will be extended. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
8 people involved in the clashes at Polytechnic University back in 2019 were sentenced to up to 56 months in jail. On November 18th, during a police siege of Polyeu, these 6 men and 2 women were found to have joined the riot around Nathan Road. One of the defendants, Ao Hoi Fong, pleaded guilty before the trial and was sentenced to 44 months behind bars for possessing metal cords. The remaining 7 defendants denied the charges and were sentenced to prison terms of between 48 and 56 months. That's on charges including participation in a riot, as well as possession of offensive weapons and instruments fit for unlawful purposes. Welcome back to TVB News. Speaking at a conference of international policy experts, Russian President Vladimir Putin said that the world is facing its most dangerous decade since World War II. Putin also accused the West of engaging in nuclear blackmail against Russia. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russian attacks on power plants would not break his country's spirits. Daniel Rao reports.
Speaking at the Valdai Discussion Club, a Moscow-based think tank, Russian President Vladimir Putin said the historical period of the West's undivided dominance over world affairs is coming to an end. He added the world is standing at a historical frontier, and that ahead is probably the most dangerous, unpredictable and important decade since the end of World War II. Putin warned that the world is facing a chain of global conflicts, but a new world order is being formed right now. He said the new reality implies changes in the composition of the United Nations Security Council, which would reflect the increasingly multipolar world. Putin said Moscow is ready for talks to end the conflict in Ukraine, but said Kyiv was not prepared to sit down at the negotiating table. Putin said Russia has tried to build relations with NATO, but got a negative response to potential cooperation. Putin also criticized the United States' interventions between China and Taiwan in a move he called contrary to common sense and logic. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky delivered his nightly address outside in the dark beside the wreckage of a downed drone. He vowed ongoing Russian attacks on power plants would not break Ukrainian spirits. Zelensky said that Kyiv had shot down 23 drones in the last 2 days, and that Russia had so far launched more than 8,000 airstrikes and fired 4,500 missiles at Ukraine. Russia's assault on Ukraine's electricity-generating network has caused massive damage while triggering blackouts. A senior official said that Kyiv and 4 other regions of Ukraine may have to cut electricity supplies for longer than planned due to the Russian strikes. Daniel Rao, TVB News.
State Councilor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi held a phone conversation with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on Thursday. Wang said Russian President Vladimir Putin sent a congratulatory message to President Xi Jinping after his re-election at the 20th CPC National Congress. Wang said this reflected the high-level mutual trust and firm mutual support between China and Russia. He added China is willing to deepen exchanges with Russia at all levels. Lavrov heralded the success of the 20th CPC National Congress and congratulated President Xi Jinping on his re-election. He also said Russia is willing to deepen multilateral cooperation with China. According to a new Pentagon defense strategy document, China remains the greatest security challenge for the United States, despite Russia's war in Ukraine. The report also said the threat from Beijing will determine how the U.S. military is equipped and shaped for the future.
The key theme of the NDS is the need to sustain and strengthen U.S. deterrence, with the People's Republic of China as our pacing challenge. As the President's national security strategy notes, the PRC is the only competitor out there with both the intent to reshape the international order and increasingly the power to do so.
But the report said conflict with China is neither inevitable nor desirable. It added, unlike China, Russia cannot systematically challenge the U.S. over the long term.
Unlike China.
In the U.S., the world's richest man, Elon Musk, completed his $44 billion acquisition of Twitter late Thursday. His first move was to fire Twitter's top leadership, which he accused of misleading him over the number of dubious accounts on the platform. Tracy Furness reports.
Even before the ink dried on the paperwork, the new owner of Twitter, Elon Musk, fired CEO Parag Agrawal, CFO Ned Siegel, and Chief Legal Counsel Vijaya Gadde. Musk privately clashed with Agrawal in April before deciding to make a bid for the company, court papers revealed. Agrawal and Siegel were in Twitter's San Francisco headquarters when the deal closed and were escorted out of the building, sources revealed. Hours later, Musk tweeted, "The bird has been freed." He walked into San Francisco's headquarters carrying a sink. As he tweeted, "Let it sink in," referring to his ownership of the company. The deal came hours before a deadline set by a Delaware judge to finalize the deal on Friday. She threatened to schedule a trial if no agreement was reached. Musk's first big move Thursday was to soothe leery Twitter advertisers, saying that he is buying the platform to help humanity and doesn't want it to become a free-for-all hellscape. Analysts and stakeholders already are pondering the changes.
I think there is a chance that one of the first things he'd like to do is bring back everybody that was banned or bring back everybody that was controversial.
He said again and again that guardrails are really not for him when it comes to content moderation. And I think we have the endless proof that without guardrails on a platform like Twitter or really anywhere on social media, you end up with hate, misogyny, conspiracy theories, and that's not positive for anyone.
Believe that Elon Musk buying Twitter and owning Twitter will be the end of Twitter.
The Washington Post reported last week, too, that Musk told prospective investors that he plans to cut 3/4 of Twitter's 7,500 workers.
So it's very unclear what will actually happen, right? So he wants to build a super app. He wants to add payments. He wants to do more video. He wants to verify users. I mean, he wants to do all these big things. At the same time, he wants to cut 75% of all the people that currently work there.
On Thursday, the New York Stock Exchange notified investors that it will suspend trading in Twitter before the opening bell Friday in anticipation of the company possibly going private under Musk. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
U.S. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer had a hot mic moment on the tarmac when speaking with President Joe Biden on the Senate election race. The news came as Biden had some good news to report in the form of strong U.S. economic figures for the third quarter. This report from NBC News.
A hot mic picked up Democrats' midterm election pressure today. Senate Leader Chuck Schumer gamed out key races that could decide party control, including that face-off where Democrat John Fetterman's stroke recovery was on display against Republican Mehmet Oz. President Biden gesturing with fingers crossed. And with just 12 days to go, the president seizing on an unexpected positive sign.
Great economic report today, the GDP report. Things are looking good.
A surprise rebound. The U.S. economy grew from July to September. The nation's gross domestic product posting 2.6% growth after shrinking in the first half of this year, fueled by consumer spending, exports, and a strong job market. The president in Syracuse, New York, urged voters to reject a Republican takeover of Congress.
They're determined to cut Social Security and Medicare, and they're willing to take down the economy over it.
While Republicans blame the president and Democrats for soaring inflation.
If you're tired of having a 401k that the Democrats have created to a 201k, if you're tired of paying too much for gas, we have a better path, a better plan.
Working mother of two, Dion Lukow, says higher costs are a daily stress.
We're hanging on by a thread. We are hanging by a thread. I may just have to, instead of paying the whole light bill, I may have to just put something down on it. So the kids can get what they need.
And for homeowners, a new sting. Rates for 30-year mortgages top 7% for the first time in 2 decades. The result of the Federal Reserve raising interest rates to counter inflation.
In the Philippines, at least 13 people died and 5 are missing in flash floods and landslides, which were set off by torrential rains that swamped a southern province overnight. The victims drowned in rampaging floodwaters and landslides in Maguindanao province. The unusual heavy rains that hit the province were caused by tropical storm Nalgae, which is expected to hit the country's eastern coast on Saturday. And in Britain, the first coins bearing the portrait of King Charles III have been produced in the country's Royal Mint. The 50-pence coin will go into circulation before the end of the year.
It has to be an image that will persist over the years and that will represent the generality of what people imagine monarchy to be about. So it's not just a portrait of him, it needs to contain the role.
Following in the tradition of his grandfather, King George VI, Charles is not depicted wearing a crown, unlike the coins depicting his mother, Queen Elizabeth III. That's the news. Have a happy weekend. Bye for now.